Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarms started screaming. The hot liquid splashed across his uniform as he jumped up from his desk. The red lights were flashing all over the Earth Defense Force Command Center. Something big was happening. "Sir, you need to see this right now," called out Lieutenant Karen Webb from her station. Her voice was shaking. Jake had never heard her sound scared before. He rushed over to her screen and felt his blood turn cold. 300 alien ships had just appeared at the edge of their solar system. They were huge, dark, and shaped like deadly arrows pointing straight at Earth. The computer was already running identification scans, and Jake knew what it would find before the results showed up. "Draconians," he whispered. Everyone in the command center heard him. The room went completely quiet except for the beeping of computers and the hum of air conditioning. Every person there knew what that word meant. The Draconians were the worst thing that could happen to any planet in the galaxy. Jake grabbed his phone and called Admiral Lisa Carter. She answered on the first ring. "Admiral, we have a problem." "A big problem," he said. "How big?" she asked. 300 Draconian warships just showed up. They're heading our way." The silence on the other end of the phone lasted for 10 long seconds. Then Admiral Carter spoke in a voice that was calm, but deadly serious. "Get everyone to the emergency meeting room. Now." Jake hung up and looked around the command center. Every face was staring at him. Some looked scared, others looked angry. A few just looked confused. He cleared his throat. "You heard the alarms? This is not a drill. The Draconians are coming to Earth. We have work to do." Within an hour, the emergency meeting room was packed. Admiral Carter sat at the head of the long table. Around her were the most important people on Earth. President Nathan Brooks was there with his advisors. General Pete Williams had flown in from NORAD. Captain Alex Turner had connected from the defense station Olympus in orbit above Earth. Intelligence Officer Ryan Brooks stood up with a tablet in his hands. His face was pale and serious. "The Draconian Empire has never lost a battle," he began. "In the last 100 years, they have conquered 47 different star systems. Every planet they attack either surrenders or gets destroyed. There is no third option." He touched his tablet and pictures appeared on the big screen. They showed dead planets, burned cities, and empty space where worlds used to be. They have enslaved entire species. Some aliens chose to fight. Their planets are now nothing but rocks floating in space. Others surrendered and became slaves. The Draconians use them to build more ships and weapons. President Brooks leaned forward. "What do they want from us?" "The same thing they want from everyone," Ryan answered. "Complete surrender. Our planet, our people, our resources, everything." Admiral Carter stood up. "What are we looking at in terms of their military strength?" Ryan switched to another screen. It showed the alien fleet in detail. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The smallest ones were the size of aircraft carriers. The largest ones were like floating cities. "Their flagship alone has more firepower than our entire Earth Defense Force," Ryan said. "These ships can destroy continents. They have energy weapons that can cut through our strongest metals like butter. Their shields can stop anything we can throw at them." General Williams shook his head. "So what are our options?" "Surrender or fight," Admiral Carter said simply. "And if we fight?" asked President Brooks. "We lose," Ryan answered. "But we might make them work for it." Captain Turner's voice came through the speakers from orbit. "Admiral, I'm getting a message from the Draconian fleet. They want to talk." "Put it through," she ordered. The big screen changed to show an alien face. It was covered in dark scales and had yellow eyes like a snake. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. "Humans of Earth, I am War Chief Thaxon of the Draconian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons. Shut down all military forces. Prepare your leaders for capture." The alien paused and seemed to smile, showing sharp teeth. "If you choose to resist, we will burn your cities. We will kill your armies. We will take your planet anyway. But if you surrender now, some of you will be allowed to live as our servants. Choose wisely. You have 72 hours. The screen went black. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then President Brooks spoke. How long until they reach Earth? At their current speed, about 60 hours, Captain Turner reported. So they'll be here before their deadline, Admiral Carter said. They want us to surrender before they even arrive. Dr. Maya Foster, the xenobiologist, had been quiet during the whole meeting. Now she raised her hand. Admiral, I've been studying their radio messages. There's something strange about the way they're talking. What do you mean? Admiral Carter asked. They keep mentioning something called the Silent Planet and the Sleeping Guardians. That's us, that's Earth. But why would they call us that? And why do they sound almost worried? Ryan Brooks looked up from his tablet. Worried? The Draconians don't get worried. They've never met anything they couldn't destroy. That's what makes this strange, Dr. Foster said. They're being more careful than usual, like they're expecting something. Admiral Carter stood up. We have less than 3 days to figure out how to fight the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Dr. Foster, keep studying their communications. Everyone else, start preparing for war. As people began to leave the room, Jake Morrison looked out the window at the blue sky. Somewhere up there, 300 alien warships were coming to destroy everything he had ever known. For the first time in his life, he wondered if humanity was about to face its last days. But something deep in his mind whispered that maybe, just maybe, the Draconians had made a mistake. Earth was not like other planets. Earth had secrets, and some secrets were about to wake up. The Draconian fleet arrived 2 hours early. Captain Alex Turner watched from his command station as the massive alien ships moved into Earth's orbit like dark clouds covering the sun. Each vessel was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The largest one, War Chief Thaxton's flagship, was the size of a small city. All stations report ready, Turner said into his radio. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, preparing for a battle they knew they could not win. Down on Earth, General Pete Williams stood in the war room deep under a mountain in Colorado. Screens all around him showed the alien fleet taking positions above every major city on the planet. His heart was pounding, but his voice was calm when he spoke to his officers. Remember, we are not trying to win this fight. We are trying to make them pay for every inch. Make them remember that. Earth fights back. The first attack came without warning. Bright beams of energy shot down from the alien ships and hit the moon. The human mining stations there disappeared in flashes of light. 17 people died in the first 5 seconds of the war. They're testing their weapons, Turner said to his crew. Get ready. We're next. But the next attack was not on the space stations. It was on Earth itself. Energy beams struck military bases around the world. The aliens were trying to destroy Earth's ability to fight back before the real battle began. Pilot Sam Rodriguez was ready for them. He led a squadron of 12 Earth fighters, small and fast ships that could barely hurt the alien vessels. But Sam had a plan. Stay low and stay fast, he told his pilots over the radio. We can't fight them head-to-head, but we can make them angry. Sam's fighters dove toward the moon, where Draconian scout ships were destroying the last of the human stations. The alien ships were shaped like arrows and moved like deadly fish through space. Sam's squadron looked like tiny insects next to them. Target their engines, Sam ordered. Hit and run. Don't try to be heroes. The Earth fighters attacked like angry wasps. They were too small for the alien weapons to hit easily, and too fast to catch. Sam managed to destroy 2 scout ships before the others could react. His pilots took out 3 more, but then the real Draconian warships arrived. They were huge and covered with weapons. Sam watched his radar screen fill up with enemy contacts. Time to go, he said. Everyone scatter. Live to fight another day. The Draconians followed them toward Earth, firing their massive weapons at the tiny human ships. Most of the energy beams missed, but one caught Lieutenant Danny Park's fighter. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Sam felt angry tears in his eyes, but he kept flying. They had hurt the enemy. It was a small victory, but it was something. On the surface of Earth, the real battle was beginning. Draconian ships landed in cities around the world. Soldiers in powered armor came out of them, carrying weapons that could melt through tank armor. They expected humans to run away in fear. Instead, they found Marine Corps Colonel Lisa Hayes waiting for them in New York City. "You picked the wrong planet," she said into her radio as she watched alien soldiers march down Fifth Avenue. "All units weapons free. Show them what we think of uninvited guests." The Marines opened fire with every weapon they had. Bullets bounced off the alien armor, but some of the bigger weapons worked. Rocket launchers could hurt the invaders if they hit just right. The aliens fired back with their energy weapons, turning cars into melted metal and blowing holes in buildings. But something strange was happening. Colonel Hayes noticed it first during the fight at Times Square. An alien soldier was pointing his weapon at her when it suddenly stopped working. The energy beam flickered and died. The alien looked at his weapon in confusion, just long enough for Hayes to shoot him. "Weapons malfunction on the enemy," she reported over the radio. "Some of their guns are failing at random." Similar reports came from battles around the world. In London, Captain Roy Bell watched alien soldiers struggle with equipment that worked perfectly one moment and failed the next. In Tokyo, Major Sue Kim saw enemy vehicles suddenly stop working for no reason. Dr. Maya Foster was in her laboratory, trying to understand what was happening. She had been studying the radio signals coming from the alien fleet when she noticed something impossible. "The electromagnetic readings around Earth are changing," she said to her assistant, Dr. Carl Stone. "Look at these numbers. The planet's magnetic field is getting stronger." "That's not possible," Carl said. "Magnetic fields don't just change like that." "And look at this," Maya continued, pointing to another screen. "Deep space sensors are picking up massive energy readings from places that should be completely dead. The Sahara Desert, the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, the Amazon jungle. Something is waking up down there." She called Admiral Carter immediately. "Admiral, something is happening to our planet. I'm reading energy signatures that shouldn't exist. It's like Earth has some kind of defense system that we never knew about." "What kind of defense system?" Carter asked. "I don't know yet, but it might explain why the Draconian weapons keep failing. Whatever this is, it doesn't like them very much." Above Earth, War Chief Thaxon was having the same realization. More and more of his ships were reporting system failures. Weapons that had worked perfectly for centuries were suddenly breaking down. His warriors on the ground were sending reports of equipment malfunctions during battle. "What is wrong with this planet?" he growled to his officers. "Run full diagnostics on all systems." But the diagnostics showed nothing wrong. The equipment was fine. It just stopped working whenever they tried to use it against the humans. Thaxon had conquered 47 worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. For the first time in his long career, he began to wonder if maybe the Draconians had made a mistake. On Earth, the humans were wondering the same thing. But they were beginning to hope that maybe, just maybe, their planet was full of surprises, and maybe those surprises were on their side. Dr. Ben Clark had been digging in the Amazon jungle for 15 years. He thought he knew every inch of the rainforest around his camp. But when he woke up that morning, there was a mountain where no mountain had been before. It was not really a mountain. It was a huge stone structure covered in metal lines that glowed with blue light. The thing was taller than the tallest trees and wider than a football field. Vines and dirt were falling off it as it continued to rise from the ground. "This is impossible," Ben said to his assistant, Dr. Julie Morris. "Buildings don't just grow out of the ground," but the structure was definitely growing. Every few minutes, more of it pushed up through the earth. The metal lines on its surface were getting brighter, and Ben could hear a low humming sound coming from inside. Ben was not the only person seeing impossible things. Around the world, similar structures were appearing everywhere. In the Sahara Desert, a massive pyramid made of black metal rose from the sand dunes. In the Himalayas, ancient towers broke through the ice and snow. At the bottom of the ocean, underwater cameras showed giant buildings lighting up on the sea floor. Seismologist Dr. Kate Murphy was watching it all happen from her office in California. Her instruments were going crazy. Earthquakes were happening everywhere, but they were not normal earthquakes. They were too organized, too planned. "It's like the whole planet is rearranging itself," she told her colleague, Dr. Paul West. "Look at these patterns. These structures are all connected underground." She pulled up a map on her computer that showed the seismic activity. Lines of energy were running under the ground between all the new structures. They formed a network that covered the entire planet. "What are we looking at?" Paul asked. "I think we're looking at the biggest machine ever built," Kate said. "And I think it's been sleeping under our feet for thousands of years." The machine was waking up, and the Draconians were feeling it. War Chief Thaxon stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet fall apart around him. Half of his ships were drifting in space with no power. The other half were barely working. "Report," he demanded from his chief engineer. "All systems are failing, War Chief," the engineer said. "Our computers keep shutting down, our weapons will not charge. Even basic life support is having problems." "What is causing this?" "We do not know. The failures seem to be coming from outside our ships. Something is interfering with our technology." Thaxon looked at the blue and green planet below him. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Down. On Earth's surface, the Draconian ground troops were having even worse problems. General Krex led the attack on Washington, D.C., but his soldiers were dropping like flies. Not from human weapons, but from their own equipment turning against them. "My armor is getting hot," reported one soldier over the radio. "It feels like it's burning me." "My weapon just exploded in my hands," called another. Krex watched his mighty army become helpless in minutes. The powered armor that made his soldiers nearly invincible was now hurting them. Their energy weapons were either not working or blowing. Up went fired. Even their vehicles were shutting down, but the humans seemed fine. Krex watched a group of human soldiers walk right through an area where his own troops could not go. The humans' weapons worked perfectly. Their equipment was not affected at all. "Retreat to the landing ships," Krex ordered. But when his soldiers reached their ships, they found them dead in the water. Nothing worked. The Great Draconian War machine had become a collection of expensive junk. Air Force Major Tony Mitchell was flying patrol over Texas when he noticed the change in the atmosphere. His instruments showed that the air itself was different. There was more electrical activity, more energy in the sky. "Something is charging up the whole planet," he reported to his commander. "It's like Earth is becoming one giant battery." The change was affecting radio communications too. Human radios worked fine, but alien signals were being blocked or scrambled. The Draconians could barely talk to each other while human communications were clearer than ever. Underground, the ancient machines were fully awake now. Dr. Ben Clark had found a way inside the structure in the Amazon. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to move and change as he watched them. At the center of the building was a room filled with strange technology. "It's some kind of control center," he told Dr. Foster over the radio. "But I have no idea how to use it." "Don't touch anything yet," Foster warned him. "We need to understand what we're dealing with first." But Ben did not need to touch anything. As he stood in the control room, lights began to turn on around him. Screens lit up showing images of Earth from space. He could see the Draconian fleet, and he could see that many of their ships were already dark and lifeless. "Dr. Foster," he said, his voice full of wonder, "I think this thing is already working. I think it's been protecting us this whole time." The screens showed more than just the current battle. They showed Earth's history going back millions of years. Ben saw images of other alien invasions, other attempts to conquer the planet. All of them had failed the same way the Draconians were failing now. "Earth has been invaded before," he reported, "many times. But something has always protected it. Something has always protected us." Dr. Foster was putting the pieces together in her laboratory. The ancient structures, the failing alien technology, the planet's changing electromagnetic field. It all pointed to one impossible conclusion. "Earth is not just a planet," she said to Admiral Carter over the phone. "It's a fortress. Someone built defenses into the planet itself, and those defenses recognize humans as the rightful owners." "Who could build something like that?" Carter asked. "Someone who cared enough about humanity to leave us the ultimate protection," Foster answered. "Someone who wanted to make sure we would never be conquered." Above them, the Draconian fleet continued to die. Ship after ship went dark as the planet's defenses turned their own technology against them. War Chief Thaxon sent desperate messages to his homeworld, but even his long-range communications were being blocked. The mighty Draconian Empire, which had never lost a battle, was losing its entire fleet to a planet that fought back. And the worst part was they still did not understand how, but the humans were beginning to understand. Earth was not defenseless. It never had been. It was just waiting for the right moment to show its teeth. Dr. Maya Foster stood in front of the biggest discovery in human history. The symbols on the wall of the Amazon structure were moving like living things, telling a story that changed everything she thought she knew about Earth. Professor Amy Watson, a language expert, worked beside her with a computer tablet trying to understand the alien writing. "These symbols are not random," Amy said, her voice full of excitement. "They're telling us something important. Look at this pattern here." The symbols showed pictures of Earth millions of years ago, but it was not the Earth that humans knew. This Earth had cities made of crystal and metal. Ships flew between the stars. People who looked almost like humans but taller and stronger lived in harmony with advanced technology. "Who were they?" Foster asked. Amy continued reading the symbols. According to this, they called themselves the First Ones. They were Earth's original children, but they had to leave. The story unfolded on the walls like a movie. The First Ones had built an amazing civilization on Earth. They explored space and visited other worlds, but something was coming that would force them to abandon their home planet. "A great war," Amy translated. "They were fighting enemies from across the galaxy, enemies who wanted to destroy all life. The First Ones could not protect Earth and fight the war at the same time, so they made a choice that would protect their world forever. They built a defense system into the planet itself, machines that would sleep deep underground until Earth was threatened. Then they would wake up and protect whoever was living on the planet. They left Earth to fight their war," Amy continued reading. "But before they went, they planted seeds. Seeds that would grow into new people who would inherit the planet and its protections." Foster felt her heart racing. "Are you saying that humans are descended from these First Ones?" "Not descended exactly," Amy said, "but connected. We're their gift to Earth, their way of making sure the planet would never be empty or defenseless." The defense system recognized this connection. That was why human technology worked while alien technology failed. Earth's machines knew the difference between its children and its enemies. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the Draconian fleet was dying. War Chief Thaxon watched his mighty armada turn into floating junk. More than half of his ships were already dead in space. The rest were failing fast. "War Chief," his communications officer reported, "we have lost contact with the home world. All long-range systems are down." "What about the ground forces?" Thaxon asked. "General Krex reports that his entire army is disabled. Their equipment has failed completely. Many soldiers are unconscious or dead." Thaxon felt something he had never experienced before: complete helplessness. His empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but now his forces were being destroyed by an enemy they could not see or fight. On Earth, Colonel Lisa Hayes was leading her Marines through the streets of New York. The Draconian soldiers who had seemed so dangerous a few hours ago were now lying helpless in the streets. Their armor had stopped working. Their weapons were dead. Some of the aliens were barely breathing. "It's like the planet is poisoning them," said Sergeant Mike Barnes as he checked on an unconscious Draconian soldier. "But we feel fine." Hayes had noticed the same thing. The alien invaders seemed to be getting sicker the longer they stayed on Earth. Meanwhile, human soldiers were moving freely through areas where aliens could not go. "Whatever is protecting us really doesn't like uninvited guests," Hayes said. Back in the Amazon, Dr. Ben Clark had made another discovery. In the deepest part of the ancient structure, he found a room that was clearly meant for humans. There were chairs that fit human bodies perfectly, control panels that seemed designed for human hands. When he sat in one of the chairs, the entire room came alive. Screens lit up showing him the entire defense network. He could see every structure around the world. He could see the Draconian fleet slowly dying in space. Most importantly, he could control it all. "Dr. Foster," He called over the radio. You need to see this. The defense system isn't just automatic, it can be controlled. And it was designed to be controlled by people like us. Foster and her team rushed to Ben's location. When she saw the control room, she understood the full truth. The first ones had not just left Earth a defense system, they had left it a legacy. Humans were not just random life that had evolved on Earth. They were the chosen inheritors of a guardian civilization. We can end this war right now, Ben said, his hands hovering over the controls. The system is asking me what I want to do with the invaders. I can disable their ships permanently. I can make sure they never threaten anyone again. What are our options? Foster asked. Ben studied the alien interface. Somehow he could understand it perfectly, as if he had been born knowing how to use it. We can destroy them completely, he said, or we can shut down their ships and eject them from our solar system, or we can capture them all and keep them as prisoners. Foster thought about the choice. The Draconians had come to Earth to kill or enslave every human being. They had destroyed other worlds and enslaved entire species. Justice said they deserved destruction, but mercy said something else. Shut them down and eject them, she decided. Let them go home and tell their empire what happens when you attack Earth. Let them spread the word that this planet is protected. Ben nodded and began working the controls. Around the world, the ancient structures began to glow brighter. In space, the Draconian ships found themselves surrounded by energy fields. The fields gently but firmly began pushing the alien vessels away from Earth. War Chief Thaxon felt his flagship being moved by an invisible force. He could not control his ship, could not fight back, could not even send a message for help. He could only watch as Earth grew smaller behind him. The great Draconian fleet, which had never been defeated, was being escorted out of the solar system like unwelcome children, and there was nothing they could do about it. On Earth, humans looked up at the sky and watched their enemies disappear into the distance. For the first time, they understood that they were not alone in the universe. They had family among the stars, and that family had left them the greatest gift of all, a planet that would always protect its children. The last Draconian ship disappeared from Earth's sensors 3 days after the invasion began. War Chief Thaxon and his entire fleet were gone, pushed out of the solar system by forces they could not understand or fight. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had simply vanished without a trace. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the war room, watching the empty space where enemy ships used to be. Around her, officers were celebrating, but she felt a strange mix of relief and worry. They had won the battle, but the war was just beginning. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Janet Price, "we're getting messages from all over the galaxy. Hundreds of different species want to talk to us." Carter was not surprised. Word traveled fast in space, and the news that the mighty Draconian Empire had been defeated would shock every civilization in the galaxy. "What are they saying?" Carter asked. "Most of them don't believe it," Janet replied. "They think we're lying or that it's some kind of trick. The Draconians have never lost a battle, ever." But some species knew it was true. They had been watching the battle from far away with their own sensors. They had seen the Draconian fleet arrive at Earth with confidence and leave in defeat and confusion. Ambassador Helen Wright was humanity's first official representative to the galactic community. She had been chosen for the job only a week ago, when it became clear that Earth would need to talk to alien governments. Now she was sitting in a conference room, talking to dozens of different species over video screens. "The Galactic Council demands an explanation," said Ambassador Zex, who looked like a giant insect with 4 arms. "How did a primitive species destroy an entire Draconian fleet?" "We didn't destroy them," Helen replied calmly. "We sent them home, alive." This caused an uproar among the alien ambassadors. Several of them started talking at once, their voices mixing together in different languages. "Impossible," said Ambassador Kell, whose species looked like walking trees. "The Draconians do not retreat. They do not surrender. They fight until they die or until their enemies die." "Then maybe they learned something new," Helen said with a small smile. The truth was spreading across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication. The Draconian Empire was in chaos. Their greatest fleet had vanished near a small blue planet. The few survivors who made it home told stories that no one wanted to believe. The planet itself fought us, reported Captain Vex, one of the few Draconian officers who had escaped. Our weapons turned against us. Our ships became prisons. The humans did not defeat us. Their world did. Emperor Thal, ruler of the Draconian Empire, listened to these reports with growing anger and fear. In 1,000 years of conquest, nothing like this had ever happened. Gather our remaining fleets, he ordered his generals. We will return to this Earth with 10 times as many ships. But his generals looked at each other nervously. None of them wanted to face whatever had destroyed War Chief Thaxon's armada. Perhaps, Your Majesty, suggested General Corks carefully, we should learn more about this planet before we attack again. Emperor Thal's eyes blazed with fury, but even he could see the wisdom in those words. For the first time in their history, the Draconians would have to study their enemy before attacking. On Earth, President Nathan Brooks was addressing the United Nations and the world. Behind him stood the flags of every nation on Earth, and beside them, a new flag. It was blue and green like the planet, with a silver star in the center representing humanity's place among the galaxies. My fellow humans, the president began, we have learned that we are not alone in the universe. We have also learned that we are not defenseless. Our planet, our Earth, has protected us with technology left by our ancestors millions of years ago. He paused to let this sink in. Around the world, people were still trying to understand what had happened. We have also learned that there are laws in the galaxy that protect species like us. Ancient laws written by civilizations that came before. These laws say that any species that can defend their home world has the right to claim the territories of their ancestors. This was the biggest surprise of all. Dr. Foster's research had revealed that the first ones had not just lived on Earth. They had built an empire that stretched across dozens of star systems. When they left to fight their final war, they had left all of those systems empty, waiting for their children to claim them. The galactic community recognizes our claim to 17 star systems, President Brooks continued. Systems that once belonged to our ancestors. We are no longer just the people of Earth. We are the inheritors of a galactic civilization. The reaction around the world was mixed. Some people were excited about the possibility of exploring space and building colonies on other worlds. Others were scared of the responsibility that came with such power. Commander Jake Morrison was one of the excited ones. He stood in the control room of Earth's first interstellar ship, the EDF Horizon. It was built using human technology combined with systems from the ancient structures. The ship could travel between stars in days instead of years. All systems ready for our first jump, reported navigator Lisa Park. Destination, the Alpha Centauri system. Take us out, Morrison ordered. The ship disappeared from Earth's orbit in a flash of light, heading for humanity's first colony among the stars. Back on Earth, Dr. Ben Clark was still working in the Amazon Control Center. The ancient systems had accepted him as their operator, and he was learning more about humanity's inheritance every day. We're not just getting star systems, he told Dr. Foster over the phone. We're getting technology, knowledge, and most importantly, we're getting responsibility. What kind of responsibility? Foster asked. The first ones were the galaxy's guardians, Ben explained. They fought to protect other species from forces that wanted to destroy all life. Now that job is ours. Are we ready for that? Ben looked at the screens showing Earth's new defenses, the human ships beginning to explore space and the messages of friendship coming from species around the galaxy. We'll have to be, he said. The galaxy has been waiting for the Guardians to return, and like it or not, we're them now. The news of Earth's victory had changed everything. Species that had been slaves to the Draconians began to rebel. Worlds that had lived in fear started to hope again. The galaxy was beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, the age of conquest was ending. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet whose people had just learned they were the children of legends. Earth was no longer hiding in the corner of the galaxy. It was taking its place as the guardian world it had always been meant to be. The Draconian fleet's disappearance had shocked the galaxy, but what came next would change it forever.